Okay.
So Joan, if you could repeat the 7:06.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I call this meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. And I ask our secretary to take the roll call. Thank you, Rosalie.
Joan Jacobs,
Present.
Rosalie Preston, present. Jenny Nixon,
Here.
Laverne Frericks,
Present.
Dave Trejo,
Present.
Harvey Powell,
Present.
Eva Cooper Pace,
Here.
Oscar, let's see, Oscar Ruiz just showed up.
Well, just call the names and see if anybody answers.
Yeah, Oscar Ruiz.
It looks as if Oscar is here. Yes, he put his hand up. Welcome, Oscar.
Okay. Jackie Jackson,
Jackie was here a minute ago.
I'm still here.
Good. Hi, Jackie.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
okay. Craig Kusunoki,
Present.
and there's someone on the Samsung that's raising their hand. Are you one of our board members?
Yes, Mr. Bell.
Oh, you're on your Samsung. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Marvin.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum, and per recent instructions, I just want to state for the record that Miguel Vasquez cannot be here tonight because his shift got changed. He has to work tonight.
It was a last minute change, unfortunately.
And I haven't heard from the other board members who aren't here, so they may be attending later.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Rosalie.
Can I please make a quick point of order?
Yes, please do.
I would recommend doing roll call and calling every single name and then stating for the record if their absence is excused or unexcused. And I'm not sure Miguel's would be considered excused, but I know this is something that will be on the agenda later, but it would be worth for everyone and for the record to state that.
Thank you. Is that possible, Rosalie?
Well, should I do it again or just at the next meeting? Follow that recommended.
Well, if you could
Okay.
say
You
who is those absent, whether they are absent with an excuse or whether we're waiting, it would help, I think.
Yes.
Okay, now Barbara Tyson is here, so
Great.
Barbara, we're just finishing the roll call, so you're here.
So Barbara's here. Welcome. Hi, Barbara.
Okay, so Nita Stonehawker, not present. Frankie Mays, not here yet, and Vanessa Simmons, not here yet.
Okay, and these are people who are usually here. So they may be coming very well because sometimes they are held up a little. So is that okay, Helena? And we can put them in later if they had an excused or otherwise absence. Can
Yeah,
that
that's
be
fine,
towards
but
the end of just towards the end of the meeting, if we're expecting them to to arrive, Or would you like us to put as absent right now and then simply put them in at the meeting when they do arrive, at the time they arrive?
Let's find a way. We'll go over this more in the other agenda item and the process.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so then item number 2, public comment on non-agenda items that are within the Neighbourhood Council's subject matter jurisdiction. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes per speaker. Please press *9 to raise your hands and *6 to unmute. I'm not sure if we have any stakeholders who are not board members at the moment, but if you are there and you wish to speak on a non-agenda item, please raise your hand.
Alex Jimenez,
Yes,
is
I
raising.
Is
Okay.
raising his hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
You have the floor.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm not sure if this is, I guess, the meeting to mention this, but had been in communication with Nicholas from CD 15 in regards to the lights being out on Vermont in front of the metro station. That my 311 has been open probably close to, it's going to be a 1-year anniversary, a couple of weeks, which is beyond acceptable. So I guess until this gets resolved, this needs to be needs to get escalated and prioritized. I understand it's an epidemic throughout the city, but that's not our problem. It needs to get fixed. It's
Right.
security. I mean, it's so many problems. The fact that the station itself is not illuminated, never mind the street as a whole.
Right. Which district are you in, Mr. Jimenez?
That's a good question. I don't remember, but I'm on.
District 5.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, so that's Marvin's, I think. I'm not really very bright tonight.
Eva Cooper
Oh,
Page.
I'm
Eva's.
District 5.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Eva.
But the situation is in District 6.
Yes. So maybe District 5 and District 6 could communicate regarding this
Yeah,
problem.
and like I
right?
said, I have been in communication with Nicholas, and I mean, his
Yeah.
updates were, he had been, I'm not sure who he was speaking to from City Hall or whoever it is, but as far as, I can't remember, who's the agency, this LA Streetlights, or, I mean, it's in the works, but
Right,
that's all the updates we get, which again is,
right.
needs to get fixed.
So if your both district representatives would keep in contact with you and Nicholas and keep abreast of how this is progressing. So if that works out,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
okay, everybody.
in my email correspondence, yeah, maybe I just need to get the emails for both CD5 and CD6 so I can CC you.
Yeah. Perhaps Rosalie, if
I'll send Alex the information.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that all right, Mr. Jimenez?
Sounds great, yeah.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment? And thank you for your comment and your input. That's very helpful.
Janet Sanchez.
Okay, Ms. Sanchez, would you like to take the floor? Hello, Janet Sanchez. Hello, if you have a comment then, or
Yes, I have a comment because I'm also on 115th and it's regarding like what the man just talked about, the street lights. I'm on 115th Street between Menlo and Hoover, and we have no lights whatsoever. Every street light pole is completely black. So even us coming into my driveway at night, it gets so dark. I'm having a hard time even getting into my driveway because most of my neighbors are still at work. So they're having turned on their porch lights. So it's completely dark.
Right. Thank you. It's completely dark when you come home. That
It's
sounds
completely dark. There's not one single pole that's working. And this is all the way from Vermont, all the way to Menlo. And even coming down on Hoover, right under the 105 bridge, freeway bridge, that underpass, it's completely pitch black.
all right. Thank you very much. Nicholas, this is still your concern, or I'm
Oh, hello.
hello? Yes.
115th, I believe, is not ours, but
Okay.
I could check to see.
It's CD8.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's
And
what I was
actually-
thinking.
Yeah, and actually, I can't even check to see if a ticket's been submitted because it's out. We only have access for our district, so
Right. So thank you very much. So District 8, our District 8 rep, is our District 8 rep here?
This is just, no, CD,
No.
Council
Oh,
District
no,
8.
I meant
Mark-
our, okay, I'm getting muddled with our District 8. It's
Hey,
confusing. Yeah.
Joan, this is Officer Martinez. I
Yeah.
have that area and I will let Laura Garcia from CD8, the field rep, I will inform her regarding the issues with the lights.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
That will be great.
And
And-
just to comment, another stakeholder, a property owner on 115th also alerted me to this issue, and I believe she was also reporting, and it's because the homeless encampment just to the east of Vermont Avenue and north of the 105 freeway off ramp, they stole all the copper out of the lights just recently.
Oh,
So-
okay, thank you. Well, we'll have to see what can be done about this situation because it does sound rather horrendous and dangerous coming home when there are no lights, because if one's driving, it's still difficult to see when it's dark. So there are all sorts of problems. So thank you very much, Officer
Martinez.
Officer Martinez.
Martinez.
And yes.
But
So is that
Joan,
it? Yes.
shouldn't we let Ms. Sanchez know that she's in Council District 8 and we're Council District 15?
Oh, yes. I
We
thought
have
she
both,
understood that. Yeah.
yeah, we have
yeah.
both Council District 15 mostly and Council District 8. So I don't know if Ms. Sanchez gets our emails, so we could let her know. Or if she can leave if she can leave a message with on our office phone, we can get back to her with more details. So that's 310-768-3853.
Okay.
Or info@harborgatewaynorth.org.
Now she is within our neighborhood council district though, right?
Yeah.
That's what I understood. Yes. So, but thank you, Eva, for your input. That was very helpful. And very pertinent. Yes.
No, I just think we should include them also. The more the merrier. I mean, really, the more help we can get, the better it will be, possibly.
In District 8 as well, right? And
Yes, so they
Martinez
can
said,
join us in the complaint.
yes, yes.
There's a number you can call to the Bureau of Street Lighting, that you can call them directly, and put the name on the list and see if anybody's reporting. There is, the number is 323-913-4744.
Okay, thank you.
I'll also put it in the chat box.
Good, great. Okay, thank you. So Ms. Sanchez, do you have enough information for the moment and know that it will be passed on and you will be put in touch with the person who can be most helpful?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, good. Okay,
And
so
just for the record, Frankie Mays has joined our meeting.
great. Hi, Frankie, welcome. We're glad you are here. And we are still on item number 2. Is there any other member of the House, any other stakeholder who has a comment, public comment? If so, please raise your hand, *6, *9, and *6 to unmute. Any raised hands? I don't see any, but.
No, no one else.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we will continue on to item number 3, which are reports. First one from LAPD. Officer Martinez, are you our first speaker?
Yes,
Thank
Joan. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Officer Robert Martinez with Southeast Division LAPD. If any of you, well, to give you my boundaries that I monitor, I go all the way up from Imperial Highway all the way down to the 91 freeway, which is Artesia Boulevard. And the east-west boundaries I have are Vermont and Figueroa. So that's kind of the corridor I have and supervise monitoring things that are happening. Real quick, I just wanted to mention a couple things regarding the division. Property crime in the division is down about almost 8%. And that's we go month to month on these 4-week extraction periods. So we're down about 8% on property crimes, which can be, burglary, breaking and entering, motor vehicle theft, theft from motor vehicles, larceny. Those are the property crimes. And then crimes against a person, we're down about 4%. So that's pretty good, especially this time of the year right now because of the holiday season, the shopping, the consumers that are out there buying, purchasing things. And you see it all over. You can watch the news. It's not only happening in our area, it's happening everywhere. So be careful if you're out there and you're shopping. It's always good to go with another person or a group and, always try to stay, as we talk about this, in lighted areas, if you can. If it's dark, maybe not venture off there until it's daylight, or go during the daytime hours. But those are a couple things you need to think about. And so a few things I wanted to talk about. One is the items that I'm working on right now. The biggest topic, and we all see it and we're all feeling it right now, are the homeless. There are patches everywhere throughout the division, probably throughout the state, if you really look at it. But what we're seeing is an increase, and we've seen it now with copper theft. We're seeing a lot of things happening with that. And as a result, like you said, you see the street lights that are out right now. I get videos a lot from, the constituents showing thefts that are happening. A lot of the copper thefts are happening that I see and that I'm getting videos of are individuals working on the Figueroa corridor in the business district. I think Thanksgiving Day, I had a video showing to me of an individual on top of a roof of a building on 132nd Street, tearing down some wire. I went there, I think it was a few days later, and construction workers were working there. And I talked to one of the individuals, and he said, yeah, there's a lot of money involved to repair this stuff. These individuals are stealing this copper. They really don't care. They don't care what the cost is to the consumer, but it's monumental. It really can be. So that's one thing we're looking at. Also, regarding the homeless and copper thefts, I'm working on trying to clean up some encampments. Right now, I'm looking at Estrella Avenue north of 135th. It's a cul-de-sac. We have several major encampments there. One's on the side of the road, which is considered Caltrans, and the other's on the city side, which I'm working on. I talked to Nick Chavez today. We're working all the encampments. First of all the encampments I'm mentioning, I'm working with Nick Chavez trying to clean these up and getting outreach and getting individuals removed. But so Estrella and 135th, and then along Redondo Beach Boulevard and the 110 freeway. If you're familiar with the big building right there next to McDonald's, the address is 555 West Redondo Beach Boulevard. I met with the manager over there, and we discussed some classes that are being held in that building and some issues with the homeless along the Caltrans area right there in the 110 freeway. We're working on, I'm working with Caltrans representative to clean that area up and get those individuals removed. and then trying to get extra patrol over there. We're trying to do a few things because there's a lot of students that are reporting issues with their vehicles. So I haven't seen any reports with that. So I told the property manager, listen, I need, whenever there's a crime, don't shrug it off, report it so I can see where the number's at, what's happening in the division. And this goes to anybody out there. I mean, if you have anything happening, please report it because we need to follow these numbers. That's how we know what's happening in the neighborhood, other than just word of mouth or a community meeting such as what we're doing tonight. So please report those. And then there's several alleys. I know RV, I talked to her, Ms. Powell, earlier today, but we're working with Nick Chavez. We're working to set up a cleanup on several locations of encampments on the 800 West block of 129th Street, the north side of the street and the south side of the street. And they're in the alleys behind the houses. So there's a couple major encampments there that we're working on to get cleaned up out of there. And as everyone knows right now in this cold weather, a lot of these individuals are lighting fires. That's what worries a lot of us. So we're trying to get them removed and housed so we can avoid any kind of, because there's nothing but debris where these individuals are staying and flammable stuff, propane tanks I see. So we're trying to get these individuals off the streets. And then I'm also working, there's a park and ride. Well, it used to be a park and ride. It's owned by now, I believe some type of company, but on 115th and Vermont, it used to be a major homeless encampment there. It's cleaned up. They rent it out to, I think, some company that's putting their cars there, but there's now another little encampment growing there. I've talked to the property manager. He's working with me to get it cleaned up. So we're going to work on that as another project. And then Athens on the Hill has reported some tagging in the neighborhood I'm going to be looking at tomorrow. I'm still working on AT&T building down there at 172 in Vermont. You got vendors down there. I'm still working with the county to try to get a vendor task force, but I've cited these individuals. Right now with citations, and I'll be honest, they're not going anywhere. It's very hard and difficult with our city right now. So we're waiting on to see what's going to happen with this because we need to start making a little harder, more consequences to these citations because I'm citing these individuals and we're not going to court or anything on them right now. That's a little discouraging, but we have a new district attorney in there, and we're hoping to see what's going to hopefully some change. And other than that, I just again, the copper thefts are a big thing with detectives. Everybody's looking into it. It's not only happened on in our area and the Gateway. It's happening throughout the division in the city. So we're really looking at this. And wherever you see copper theft, we know their encampments are nearby, and that's what worries us. And we're trying to get these individuals removed and housed, or just or just enforce also. One thing the Slows did last week, and we might be doing this more during the holidays, so just be heads up when you're driving out there. There was an accident that occurred. Individual was struck, and I don't know the outcome of it, but I think a student on 88th and Central Avenue. So our motor division, we're starting to do those PED task force again, where the senior leads, we walk in the street in a crosswalk that's marked, and if cars don't stop, they're getting ticketed. A lot of people say, oh, that's entrapment. We're not trying to entrap anybody. We're trying to legally cross the street. And a lot of times during the morning hours, these cars don't want to stop. And any of you that have been in the, pedestrian walkways, you know what I'm talking about. So we're trying to do that more and more and put it, enforce it and just send a message that, these vehicles need to slow down and stop for pedestrian travel. And after a while, it started working and the word got around. So that's pretty good. Last thing I want to report is stolen vehicles. There's been a trend happening in the 700 West block of 141st and 148. 2 vehicles were taken within the last week, a 2020 GMC truck and a 2000 Honda. So be careful in that area. And then a few weeks earlier in the 700 West block of 129th, Kia was taken from that specific area. But that's all I have for the stolen vehicles. And other than that, I'm just working on community complaints that are happening with the homeless and copper theft. lights being out, as we talked about earlier. Ms. Sanchez mentioned that. So we're trying to clean up these encampments and trying to clean up these streets a little bit and make it a little more livable for the for you constituents and the stakeholders out there. Other than that, anybody have any questions or concerns, or how do you want me to handle that, Joan? But I'm done with my reporting.
Thank
I
you
have a
very much.
question.
Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Officer Martinez. It's Eva Cooper.
Oh, Ms. Cooper, how you doing?
Okay, as
Yes.
far as the copper theft is, are they targeting the people buying the copper? Because it doesn't do them much good to steal it if they don't have somewhere to sell it.
Right. Yes. No, that's a great question. I have talked to detectives on that, but it's one of those where like a catalytic converter, those we know are stolen from vehicles when they're sawed off, and those we go to the shops, the detectives do, and they enforce those. As far as copper, these individuals take it to these yards and recycling yards, and there's who's to say where the copper comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for copper. I found it on the street. I just it's hard to say where it got it unless it's marked or identified. But right now there's no way the detectives can go after it. They just try to follow crime trends that are happening. But again, this business district along Figueroa is getting hit hard. I know on Estrella, one of the buildings, this is just a horrible story, but the building's vacant. Individuals took, well, the owner said he took probably about 200,000, maybe $500,000 worth of copper in destruction on the property. It was a couple days later, believed to be the same individuals came back, and the officers made a great arrest. It was like a multi-4 arrest, and the DA didn't file charges on them. They were in custody and everything. Yeah. And there's reasons regarding that, but it was a great arrest. Everything was good. It went to the DA's office, city attorney's office, and they did not file on that. And that's something that I hope will change in the future.
We have a new DA.
I'm hoping that will help. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you for that. Yes.
So, Officer Martinez, after
Yeah.
your story, what I'm wondering is if we should also write letters to the district attorney and let them know how this affects the people who live around there, not just this, the business or the entity that has lost the copper,
Right.
but what it means to the residents and the people who do, people who want to shop around there or whatever it might be.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a great question, Joan. So in the past, I've been a senior lead for a long time here now. We always used to have a neighborhood prosecutor that worked with us in the division. For example, we had one that worked with us, and Sonia, I can't think of her last name right now, but she was a
Dawson.
So Sanja Dawson. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So she used to work with us, and she would come in maybe weekly or bi-weekly. Hey, what do you guys need? What are you working on, officers? It was such a good, close relationship. And when we had issues like this, she would write everything down and she'd do follow-ups with it. And she'd follow our cases. If we made any arrests, officers made any arrests, she would follow those through court. She would even directly take them to get filed on. I mean, but we lost that. We've lost that for several years now. For about 5 years, we've lost that. We don't have, we did it when she left and retired. We did have an individual that came in and they removed him. So we really have no connection with the city attorney's office as senior leads. And we're one of the more vital units in patrol, because we're firsthand with talking with these city attorneys. So one thing that we're going to try to get that back is try to get an attorney, the city attorney, to come back, a neighborhood prosecutor, so we can discuss problems like this. And even Sanja Dawson would attend these meetings and, try to bring you answers. But that's one thing we're looking at.
Oh, okay. I'm wondering if it's within our remit to actually write or be in communication with the attorney, district attorney's office regarding both of these issues.
I
One,
mean,
the lighting and the, I mean, the effect on the people of these crimes, and
I think the business.
your problem, Officer Martinez, about not having the same liaison there. Avi, you were about to say something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yes.
No, I'm sorry, but then I think what all this going on is impacting the businesses over there,
Yeah.
and it's probably impacting the and also there's a church, a shoe store, and I saw some cars, some workers over there by sundown. I know they're probably gone, because it gets pitch black dark.
Right.
And
Right.
also the people working in the area. And I think also I want to mention, I think a lot of stuff is underreported, like Officer Martinez was saying. Because on the Citizen app, it even mentions our area is low in crime report. And I say I think that's due to underreporting and also the process of the city capturing the data. Because I called the office, to report it, the desk office. I left a message and I didn't get a call back for 12 hours the first time. Second time I called, a call back to return time was 10 hours. So they need to also improve, in other processes too, in order people to report, because they get frustrated. Nobody ain't gonna be waiting, and nobody is not gonna be keep persistently calling back. And another thing is the capturing of the reports, also the response time, and even the app wasn't really working that well, over the weekend when I tried to type it in. And it says on the Bureau of Street Lighting, call back or try back again later, And I also have been done reports to the Bureau of Street Lighting. And when I wanted to report the lighting on Estrella, the lady said, it was reported on the 13th and they don't take no more reports after that. So how's that capturing data to let them know how's it impacting? So I think they need to look into that too, and let them take the report to let the people, so they can get a greater picture.
Right.
And
So
also,
yeah, go ahead. You were saying
so
something
that's
else?
what I want to say right now, because I know our meeting is just getting
Okay.
started.
Thank
And
you. So then I would like to ask Helena, if she is still there. I think, yes, she is. Helena, how much of this to report and comment on is within our remit? I mean, can we bring any pressure to, I don't mean pressure like that, any more attention to this? Is this within our remit as a neighborhood council? I'm not sure why it wouldn't be, but I'm just asking.
No, this is a good opportunity to discuss with representatives. So I would direct your questions there, but if it becomes a conversation point between the board, then I would recommend tabling that discussion and agendizing it so you can discuss it further if you think there needs to be possible action.
Right. I was wondering also about getting in touch with, as a board, or getting in touch with the district attorney's office and saying these are problems within our district that we're really concerned about.
Yeah, it
Like
sounds
that,
like
whatever
you,
the board agrees to.
yeah, that would have to be an agenda item then. If like you're looking to take action like that,
Right,
and
but
you
that
are
is, sorry, it is within our remit that we can take an action like that?
not today, you would have to
No,
agendize it.
I don't mean today. I mean after
Oh.
we've put it on an agenda, absolutely.
Yeah. It would
Oh,
be
good.
kind of like similar to a CIS. I would agendize it, and
Okay.
then before the agenda is submitted for next month, you and I can discuss, because I'll see it ahead of time. And if we have to get NCAD, I doubt we would, but it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Dave Trejo has his hand up.
Dave.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Well,
On that note, I think I would sign up for either reading asynchronously or having Helena educate us a bit in terms of like what are the pathways of that highly effective neighborhood councils take to escalate commonly recurring issues. Because the streetlight issue and the police response time is one that comes up pretty regularly to us, and we send it over to Officer Martinez, or we send it over to Nick Chavez, and they do what's within their power of communication. But if the things don't change, then there's got to be like another pathway so that we can have Nicholas and Officer Martinez's back to say, no, it's really impacting us, and you should listen to what they're saying. And so I would welcome that. So I'm just mentioning that just because that was just brought up. But Officer Martinez, I wanted to share two things and then advocate for a couple things. One, thank you for being here. I wanted to tell you that the experience of reporting something at the station is so vastly different depending on who the police officer is. Like, it's wildly inconsistent for the same incidents. Some people will tell you they'll take a report, others won't tell you anything, others will offer a business card. But it's wild how inconsistent it is. And so I just want to name that for you.
Okay.
And then I called non-emergency the other day. Actually, I called 911 because there was a physical altercation that I could predict was going to take place. But because it wasn't taking place, they told me they wouldn't respond to it. So like that is what that is. But when I called non-emergency, I was on the line for 30 minutes and I still got no response before I had to try to find other proactive measures to reduce the likelihood of adults fighting, not kids, at my school. And we did. But it would have been helpful to get something, but it's just really hard to, I think that's what ends up happening from my like amateur opinion. There ends up being this self-fulfilling like cycle of like, people get so frustrated at how long it takes to even get in touch with y'all that they don't even bother doing it. And so then the reports don't build up. And then so less resources are allocated and whatnot. But when you're like in need, like 30 minutes of like not of needing something important, but it's not an emergency, it's a long time to be on hold and still not get someone.
Yeah, no, Dave, I agree with you 100%. If it's above my pay grade, obviously,
Yeah.
but I see and feel what you're talking about. I get that a lot with the community, and I wish I had a quick response answer. But the only thing I can say is like, I think meetings like this, we need to go maybe higher up in within our department for the Los Angeles Police Department. It's probably not even at the station level. I will talk to our captains regarding the desk officers or the reporting procedures and try to get that, with our captain, with the officers, get it corrected in a sense, or at least be consistent with what is supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be handled.
And if you want two specific,
yeah,
if you want two specific examples, I can give them to you offline, but I can give you two specific examples where the situations were handled wildly different depending on who was there. But we don't have to get in that minutia here, but if
I get you.
want specific
if you could do
instances.
that offline, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
what I would also do, and Joan, maybe you guys can do as a neighborhood councils, on your next meeting, invite a 911 dispatcher.
Oh, okay.
Invite a dispatcher. Now, when you do this, and if they agree to do it, don't butcher them, but just ask them, ask them what's going on and why we have such the times, what happens, what's going on with the lag times, whether it be the police department at issue or the priority of the call. There's a lot of factors that play into it. So I think really a dispatcher would be ideal, but I know the department always remains a goal for the department to have a quick response time. I think in one point they wanted a 7-minute response time. I know that doesn't happen. So there's a lot of things, and I'll go back to the station. I'll take this back. The frustration. I understand. I completely get it. So, but I would highly suggest a dispatcher to maybe answer your questions regarding any kind of calls or why the length of time and all that too.
Who would we bring in if? Because I mean, I wouldn't want to bring in a random dispatcher because they're not like
Oh,
they're
yeah,
not
well,
decision makers, you
there,
know.
yeah, there'd be a supervisor that you would have to talk
Yeah.
to, and they would send. They've had them before come to community meetings in the past.
Yeah.
Dispatchers
Yeah.
come out that are seasoned veteran that would be able to handle any kind of questions that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it would be the non-emergency like that I get because I understand that 911 is kind of like a crapshoot depending on how hot or how cold the city
Right.
is at that time. It's the non-emergency like taking half an hour that I think is wild,
Sure.
but I think I made that clear already, and I appreciate everything you do, officer. The
No,
other thing I was
dude,
going to say
I
was,
know.
yeah,
You're one of the more vocal ones out there, and I appreciate that. And you always give
yeah.
me good info. So, but yeah, no,
Mm.
definitely. Maybe a couple of things we'll look at, and I'll definitely look into the station reporting and all that too for you.
Yeah.
Try
The
to
only
get
other
you
thing
some
I was going to ask for advocating is continued patrols on Gardena Boulevard and
Yep.
on 165th and Ainsworth. 165th and Ainsworth, like when you get a chance, come by my office. I'll show you the camera angle I have at 165th and Ainsworth. It's
Okay.
it's often there a graffiti party, fireworks, and
About the
just
street right there. Yeah.
drinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
right off of Gardena. I think when it gets hot on
Okay.
Gardena, they just come down one block over to 165th and Ainsworth.
Okay. Okay. All
So
right,
just
dude, I
advocating for
appreciate that.
that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
this is Rosalie. I just wanted to mention something related. I was posting our agenda over the weekend at the 135th Street School on Saturday. And so I drove up Estrella to see the situation, and I saw that the homeless encampment on the Caltrans side had an open fire. So I called the fire station 64 directly. And I believe a captain, I should have written down his name, I believe a captain answered, and he said, well, there's homeless fires all over the city, we can't do anything about those. And he said, you have to call LAPD. So I called the non-emergency number and waited on hold for 50 minutes and just gave up. Actually, Arby told me that in a similar situation, there was the option where she could have left a number and then they would call back. But I understand the callback is not very responsive either. So, again, this is what makes people not bother calling because of the issues. And I just feel also that, the fires of the homeless, the city needs to have a better approach because they can easily get out of hand. And then it would seem like there needs to be a procedure where someone goes out and has a talk with the people with the open fires. And we are thinking for our January 20th general membership meeting, we might invite actually the captain of our station. And then maybe we could try to have someone from the non-emergency as well.
Okay.
The fire captain or Southeast
Fire
LAPD?
captain.
Southeast
Southeast.
LAPD.
Oh,
Okay.
why don't we have the captain from the fire station as well? Find out why.
We have 2 fire stations.
Okay, both fire stations, whichever you like, whatever you like. I mean, but it's something to think about. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions for
Alex Jimenez has his hand raised.
Alex?
Oh,
Mr. Jimenez, would you like to speak?
Oh, I was just gonna follow up to Rosalie's statement. Well, in general, that the non-emergency might as well not exist. My record on it is 3 hours, and I've never been able to get through because it might as well not exist. 911 itself is sad as well. Have been in communication with Martinez in an incident from a couple weeks back. It took me like I think it was 10 minutes to get dispatched, and even and nothing came out of that. The call itself. I was reporting gunshots. So that's the icing on the cake, that even when you call, you kind of have to be dying for anything to happen. So again, it's a matter of, I mean, this needs to be we need to keep our finger on it. It needs to be on the agenda that it needs to be escalated into funding, more patrolling. And again, it's the same story that, yeah, it's just that there's not enough cops. I don't know about money and funding, but again, it's just the whole city as a whole is experiencing it. But
Right. Well, thank you very much. Yes, this is obviously a very important subject altogether. So does anybody else have something they would like to comment? No? Okay, thank you. Then thank you, Officer Martinez, and thank you everybody who has contributed to the comments and questions afterwards.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. And now I will proceed to the next item. Council District 15. I think Nicholas Chavez is here. Nicholas, would you like to take the floor?
Yes, thank you, Joan. Good evening,
you.
everyone. My name is Nicholas Chavez. I'm the Harbor Gateway representative for Councilman Tim McOsker. Before I kind of go into some updates, I did want to kind of just get into a little bit more detail about some of the items brought up. One of them being the dispatch response times. This is something obviously that it affects the whole city, as do most issues, but the dispatch in particular is very important when it comes to public safety, because if resources can't be dispatched in a timely manner, then that it affects public safety. So I do know that right now, for both police officers, for firefighters, for police service representatives, which is the official title of the 911 dispatchers, there are hiring incentives, and there are folks that are currently in training. I do not know the exact number of dispatchers that would be necessary to get to a certain response time goal, but I can follow up with more information on that. I do know that there are quite a good number of folks that are currently in the dispatch training, but that process is about 6 to 7 months, if I remember that correctly. But there are quite a few folks that have applied, and if you know anyone, or if you're thinking about a career change, the police service representative is definitely a good move. And then another question brought up is, and it's brought up all the time, it's something that I answer questions about daily, is street lighting, and that's another issue that has just been very, very difficult for us. Even ourselves as the council office have just noticed that it's really kind of getting out of control with just the amount of new lights being torn. Even I believe I reported this last time, but the Bureau of Street Lighting did change some of their protocols to where when they do some of these repairs, they are a little bit more secure. I know they've been burying the electrical boxes a little bit deeper. In some instances, they've been cemented over, but some of these copper wire thieves are very ingenuitive, and they carry around tools, and they're able to take out an entire grid in under 4 minutes, in the wee hours of the night. And so it's a constant issue that we have been trying to fix. I know, as Officer Martinez mentioned, there's been quite a few high profile instances on the Figueroa corridor, kind of in that region between El Segundo and 135th, a few of those businesses and public infrastructure like the streetlights have been really targeted. And that kind of ties into another point that I wanted to mention, which is a similar thing occurring with the AT&T and landline service. The landlines as well are, based on copper. And I know for some folks up on the north side that, use AT&T for their landline service, it still has not been restored. So I do know I've talked with a few folks and emailed some links to both AT&T's website and the California Public Utility Commission website, to where formal complaints can be made. And I've already kind of helped guide a few constituents through that process. And I know with AT&T as well, their repair dates have varied quite frequently. I know from when I first kind of heard about the outages for the landline services, their website said, estimated date of repair around November. And then a few weeks later, it went to December. And then now, for a lot of those areas, on the north side of CD15 and a lot throughout CD8, it's currently projected to be end of January, if not February. So I urge you guys to, stay patient with us, but please feel free to email us, document it. I know there was a discussion about how the neighborhood council could assist with this. And what I will do is perhaps see if the Bureau of Street Lighting can also provide a representative, if they have an external relations person that could maybe come to the next meeting and just describe a little bit more about the protocols, what happens when tickets are submitted, and how those are kind of filtered through the system, and also just give an overview of the repair process, because I know it varies per area. Some lights are individual when it comes to the repairs. Other lights are on a grid with 5 other street lights. Some are on another grid with 11. So when it comes to the repairs, it does get a little bit difficult, but I will work on getting information about a rep that can speak to that on both the dispatcher side and also the street lighting side. And I also know someone mentioned graffiti was popped up on Athens on the Hill. I was in the neighborhood today along Hoover, so I did see some of the graffiti on Hoover, and then there was also a wall on the corner of Laconia and Hoover that was tagged up as well. So I reported that earlier today, and graffiti is normally a pretty quick turnaround. Gap normally gets to it within 28 to 48 hours. So that graffiti should be removed, if not tomorrow, by Thursday at the latest. And then I also did want to mention some of the homeless encampment issues. I know I've spoken with, Ms. Powell about two different encampments in and around 120, just on 120, between 129th and El Segundo, in an alley right there, and then a little bit further south in another alley on 129th. So those encampments have been documented, they've been reported. I've also submitted LA HOP requests, so LASA has made contact with those individuals just in case they need services, but those cleanups will be scheduled, if not in December, due to the holidays, it might be at the very start of January. And also, I did want to mention that a few weeks ago on Saturday, November 30th, the council member, we celebrated Small Business Saturday, which this year was November 30th. So we spent the whole Saturday, going around different small businesses within the district. And in the Gateway, we visited Los Novillos Market, which is a meat market slash grocery store that is on Vermont, just north of Rosecrans. So if you haven't been there, definitely encourage you guys to go. They have, lots of meat there. They also do have a small kind of food portion where they do make some food, and they have some fresh produce there. So the councilman wants to encourage everyone to, support the small businesses in our area, especially now more than ever that it's harder for a small business to sustain. But we definitely want to commend the small businesses in our area and make sure that, they're doing well and they're well supported. And in addition as well, our Clean 15 team has been very, very active, particularly again with a lot of the underpasses. A lot of them, are Broadway, Maine, Stanford, San Pedro, that are very commonly are illegal dumping spots, unfortunately. So this week, a few of those locations are going to be hit tomorrow, actually, tomorrow and Thursday. And sanitation has also been very active with on 117th Street. That's another area that normally is targeted by illegal dumpers in the middle of the night. But sanitation has been great with getting those cleaned up within 24 to 48 hours. And also, I know I've gotten a few requests for weed abatement with some of the alleys that are starting to overgrow. So I will make sure that those get scheduled with our clean team as well. And if there's any illegal dumping request or weed abatement, overgrown shrubbery, please feel free to email me or call our office, and we'll make sure that those are reported to our clean team so that they can be done. Recently, they just cleared up the sidewalk on Vermont, just south of Artesia, and also going a little bit north near the AT&T building. Some of the grass on the east side of Vermont was overgrown, so they took care of that, as well as some locations in and around Gardena Boulevard about a week ago, just kind of cleaning up some of the curbs and gutters and sweeping those streets. And let me see what else I have here. I know there's been RVs also that have kind of been in and around the neighborhood. So there was recently one that popped up near Alondra and Estrella. So I did receive a lot of phone calls this past week from residents on that block. It was reported to parking enforcement, and the RV was, I don't believe it was towed. I think the individual there was just relocated to a different spot. So I will keep an eye out to see where they've relocated to. I haven't been able to find them, but if there are any concerns with RVs or encampments, also please feel free to report them to us. And then let's see. And I also did want to mention that the council member is the chair of the personnel committee. So there will be some changes, as we're approaching the next budget season. I know that LAPD, the fire department, and some of the other departments within the city have already kind of started drafting their preliminary budgets. I know that LAPD and the fire department have, because those have to be kind of signed off by the Board of Commissioners. So those concerns related to police response time, related to the dispatchers, related to the number of officers as a whole, is something that we're going to be looking to proactively address within the next few months, and as we approach the next budget season, which normally kind of sneaks up on us just with how fast time has flown by. Let me see what else I have. I know that Officer Hamaoka isn't here today, but I've been working with him a lot in his area. There's been some encampments that have popped up. I know one that is on Main and Imperial that we're working on to get cleared. He reported on this last time, but there's a few abandoned buildings that we've been working with building and safety to make sure they're reported on. The last thing that I wanted to mention before I open it up to questions was the building currently what is kind of a vacant strip mall on the corner of 120th and Central. I know this is something that has come up in the past. I did get a message from one of the representatives from the owner this past week that mentioned that they're looking to begin construction in January. So they should be beginning demolition. I'm assuming if they're going to start construction in January, sometime in late December, if not early January, and then construction will begin on that apartment complex. And we're still working with him as well to get some more information on his project, and perhaps another presentation to us just about what his project entails, and some of the security concerns that some of the residents in that neighborhood have mentioned as well. So that about does it for my report. I know there might be a lot of questions that you guys may have, so feel free, or let me see, I see there's some hands up. I'll start with
Janet has had
Ash?
Janet Sanchez has had her hand up quite a long time. I don't know
Okay.
if she was still wanting to. So thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. Yes. Janet Sanchez, do you have a question for Nicholas Chavez or a comment?
Yes, yes, I do. Thank you for taking my message. Back to the wiring, the copper wiring that's been stolen. I know that's been our topic. Have anyone, like police or anyone, have you guys started maybe bringing awareness or promoting for people a number or an incentive where if they see someone stealing the wire to like call and report it? Like, have you guys started doing anything like that?
So currently there's not like, I think what you're referring to is like a reward program.
Exactly. Like if you see someone stealing the copper wire, report it to this number and you'll get something in return, since it seems like it's something that's gonna cost the city, money to repair. And I know myself, I've experienced where I don't call back to the same thing where I don't want to call 911 because it's not really an emergency, life matter. And I'll call the regular number and then it takes an hour for someone to answer your call, and then it takes another 6 hours for police to show up.
Mhm.
Right. Going back to the reward component, just to kind of go into that, there currently isn't a reward system. As far as I'm aware, the only kind of reward system that there is with illegal dumping. Like if a similar situation, if you see someone, dumping construction material and you're able to provide information, whether you know the person or you're able to catch a license plate or something clearly identifiable, there is that program for illegal dumping. But I do know, speaking anecdotally, for some of the illegal dumping that we've seen, not only in the Gateway but all throughout our district, a lot of the times folks now they don't have license plate on their vehicles, and a lot of the dumping occurs late into the night, in obscure kind of neighborhoods, and I'll tie that back into the street lighting to say that with the street lighting, a lot of the times that there is copper theft, and I don't know if you've seen, someone stealing it live in person. But some of the videos that I've seen and the anecdotes as well that we've heard, it can take less than 3 minutes for someone to steal copper. So it's very hard to identify it. I can, definitely find out about a reward system and see if that's something that can be implemented, or I know what you're referring to, like a hotline that maybe perhaps is more readily accessible than calling 911 or non-emergency. But in the
Yes.
meantime, yeah, in the meantime, right now, our really our only the only effective tool of reporting is just reporting the lights on 311. And those will be added to street lighting's queue for repair.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Like maybe if more people knew that there was such a hotline or a toll number that they could call, maybe people would actually, start looking out for, people stealing.
Right. And I know for in that case, if you do see someone, I still believe probably the non-emergency number would be the most appropriate, but I do know that realistically, even if you get, online with someone within 5 or 10 minutes, the person might have already been long gone by then.
Okay.
But thank you for your feedback, Janet.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you see any other hands up?
Yeah, I think Madge is
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Madge, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for your update. I wanted to ask, I'm curious about the AT&T outage, and I know some stakeholders had expressed concerns on previous meetings. I guess thankfully don't have AT&T, but I'm curious, what have they identified a root cause? And is this something that other carriers might be subject to experiencing in the future?
Yeah, so the cause is the same as streetlights. I'm not an expert on the landline technology, but from when I had spoken to a rep, it also relies on copper. So a lot of these outages just have to do with thieves stealing the copper wire. And what was described to me from one of the reps that I had spoken to was that, in their words, that the repair for the landline on their end is just so extensive when it comes to uh, all the adjustments, uh, all the little connections that have to be made, that it's a very strenuous and meticulous process. It's not just, kind of plugging something back in or replacing a wire. There's a lot of components and manual work that go into it. So um, that's the kind of the official response that we've heard from AT&T. I don't know if it's a lot easier than that, but unfortunately, that's kind of the word that we've received officially. And I did mention as well, I know you said that you don't have AT&T, but some of the constituents that I've spoken to have not had landline service for, I want to say, 3 months, if not more than that. So I've referred some folks to the California Public Utilities Commission. They have a form on their website where folks can make a utility complaint, which doesn't only apply to this matter. If you have an issue with your internet provider or, your cell phone provider, you can always make a complaint to the Utilities Commission. And they have folks in their consumer affairs branch that will connect with you, connect with the utility in question, and just kind of work on mediation or kind of get to the bottom of whatever the issue is.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will look to, while we're on the call, to see if I can find the complaint form from the Utility Commission, and I'll put it in the chat once I find it.
Perfect. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, Nicholas, I forgot to unmute.
Oh, go for it.
I have a small, quick question, I think. Is there a list of all the small businesses there are in our district so that we can patronize them more?
You know what? We don't have an official list, but that is something that perhaps it's a really good idea. We'll work on. We have someone on our team. Her name is Amanda Enriquez, who
Mhm.
is her position is kind of economic development. So
Ah,
she works with, you know, chambers and different business entities within our district. So I will bring that up to her and see if perhaps we can make kind of a little guide. I do know that, you know, the mayor's office and the uh, I don't know if it was the mayor's office or the EWDD, the Economic Workforce and Development Office, did have a legacy business program where they were looking to highlight businesses within the city of LA that have been around for more than 20 years. So I'll coordinate with her and see if, you know, our office and maybe with some assistance with EWDD can work on maybe like an infographic or some sort of database, like you said, that can direct folks to all the small businesses within our boundaries.
thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
I was also wondering whether there was a way of possibly highlighting on a maybe weekly basis or something like, or a monthly basis even, businesses that are there, that we do have, just highlighting one business or I don't know, sort of businesses like restaurants. There is a new business opening in blah de blah, or this business has been there since whatever, and I don't know, or where people can write into that kind of database and say, I had a wonderful, I don't know. I mean, they used to be, and it may be still there, I don't know, but they're a lovely little sort of very, very small Chinese, not restaurant, it was a takeout. But when first time I had it, I thought I hadn't had such good Chinese food since forever. But something like that, that we can even help towards getting them even more recognized.
Oh, yeah,
But if you
absolutely.
could do some kind of database, I think would be wonderful to direct
Yeah,
people to.
I'll take that back to the team and see if it's something we can do more frequently. I know
Okay.
when new businesses open, you know, we'll take them a certificate. But you know, I will take it back to the team to see if that's something we can just highlight more regularly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Nicholas. John, can I just say one quick thing before Nick jumps?
Absolutely. Please do.
Nick, thank you for your updates. I just wanted to say, I know you commented earlier that we were talking about how our neighborhood council could be more effective, and I just wanted to be explicitly clear that what I'm asking for or what I'm looking for building education on is how to hack some of the stuff, some of the things within the city. The city's such a huge bureaucracy that sometimes unless someone from streets and sidewalks comes out to our meeting and says, hey, when you attach a report to a disabled person, it bumps it to the top of the queue. When we learn things like that, that's helpful. And so I think it's really more about learning and you helping us or guiding us even to more effective lobbying on behalf of our constituents, especially for the most common things like streetlights, not being able to pull into your own home in the second largest city in the country without having illumination is something that we should be able to escalate somewhat effectively, or be able to see the transparently where things lie in the list. And I think that's something that I would say maybe if you have feedback, I want to hear it, but that we can ask our council member to lobby for, which is this transparency. People put these things into the app and then it's this black void until the ticket gets closed or it doesn't. And there's no transparency on the algorithm of whether or not someone's home or large public street like Vermont or the Figueroa corridor takes precedent. And so that uncertainty, that lack of knowing leads to folks filling in their own story. And when people fill in their own story for something that is like a safety risk, it's hardly ever going to be favorable for the folks that represent them. And so I think that lack of transparency, and also not knowing how to effectively escalate things, because there's always an effective way, a more effective way of escalation and lobbying. We just don't always know it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I will say that with most service request types, as a city, they're more, for example, like graffiti, illegal dumping, those kinds of tickets are resolved, normally in a very timely manner within a week. And street lighting is something, like you said, when a ticket is put in, there's this void, it's submitted and it'll say, pending inspection. And we're kind of finding out that, even just to get the inspection, or like you said, to get to the next phase of repair, that alone is taking months for different reasons, the volume and the amount of staff, so on and so forth. And I do know that the 311 app is going to get some updates as well. I know that's coming in a few months. I don't have the specifics on what's going to change. So I would hope, as you said, that maybe there's some more information. I know one of the things that is kind of frustrating, even to us as staff with the 311 app, is when you go to your open tickets, there's not really a lot of information, like you said, about the dates that's been submitted, if it's been referred, just those kinds of things, or estimated, date of repair. So I hope that those things are a part of the upcoming upgrade. And we'll check back in. We do keep in fairly good communication with our liaisons from street lighting. And we, do escalate, tickets and locations, and some of the ones that have been mentioned have already been inputted into kind of those, requests. But, it's just been taking a while. So by the next meeting, I hope to have a better explanation of street lighting, their processes, and kind of where we're at when it comes to repairing some of these street lights. So thank you very much, Mr. Trejo. And
Thank you, Nick.
And I read your comment, so thank you for that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nicholas, very much. Okay, and now to the mayor's office. I think we don't have anyone directly from the mayor's office, right?
No.
No, thank you. Our Los Angeles County Supervisor, Second District, and I don't see anyone from there either. Okay, so Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, Helena, the floor is yours.
Sure. Gosh, I feel like I would love to offer input on 311. I know so much time is now spent on it, so I'll just leave it. If you want our department's perspective, there are some things I can offer for NCs, but I'll first go into my very quick just reminders, and then if there's time, maybe at the end of the meeting, I'll let the vice chair decide. But quickly, this Friday, in case you haven't and you still want to register, you can attend the Empower LA celebrating 25 years of the NC system. Again, that's this Friday from 6 to 9 at City Hall. I will include the link to register Also, you may have seen an email from Lene from the Office of the City Clerk, but candidate filing is open for Harbor Gateway North. All board member seats are currently up for election, so everyone interested will need to follow the process in running for their seat. So far, a total of 5 candidates have been have submitted applications, with 2 of them being certified candidates. And the candidate filing deadline is January 6, 2025. So please be sure, if you want to remain on the board, please be sure to submit that. And then the vote by mail application opens January 24th, 2025, and the ballot mailing will begin in February. I'll include all the specific dates and a complete spreadsheet with all of the dates in my email. And then there is also, speaking of elections, with election awareness here, our team is going to begin canvassing. So my director, the Director of Awareness and Engagement, Marilu Guevara, has offered to schedule time with NCs to go around their area and canvas, educate people on the NC system. So feel free to reach out to her and and we can schedule a time. It can be in the morning, during the weekday, weekend, anytime that you'd like to walk around and canvas. And then lastly, there is the youth conference, and applications for that are due next Friday. So I know I shared these updates last month, and I'll continue to share them in my recap, but just FYI, if anyone was interested in joining. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions, comments? I see one hand is apparently up, but I'm not sure whose. Oh, Janet Sanchez, have you taken your hand down? Yes, apparently. Okay, thank you. So let us go on to the updates on our board goals and priorities for 24-25. How are we progressing? Okay.
Can I share my screen? I'm not able to. But I can pull up.
I don't have that capability, Madge. Rosalie is the one with screen sharing authority. Rosalie? Hello, Rosalie, are you there?
Okay, Madge, you should be able to share now.
Okay, yes, thank you. I'm just gonna pull up our goals and priorities.
Thank you.
Can you all see my screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. I know it's also in the minutes, but this is just the cleanest version. Maybe we can go through these kind of fast today. Joan and Dave, do you have any update on beautification and creation of green spaces?
Well, the last we knew, we were waiting on feedback from, Nicholas Chavez we were in contact with Nicholas, not since the last meeting, but I don't think anything has changed since our last meeting. Are we right, Nicholas? We're still waiting for information back on grants and other things with
Cal State Dominguez Hills was seeking a grant.
Dominguez Hills, Cal State Dominguez Hills, right. Is that right, Nicholas? You have heard back from them? I think maybe Nicholas may have gone. But let me have a quick look. I think so.
My inclination, Joan, is to reach out to like tree people and just consult from them if you and I can chat offline in terms of
Okay,
where
let's do that
we
later.
would want to target. And
Yeah.
Tree People has given my school and other schools in my area, they just give free trees. And so
Yes.
And so if they know what our intention is, they might be able to guide us in a way that's faster than waiting for a third party
Right.
grant to choose to one, get the grant and then choose to partner with us.
Thank you. Yes, I actually went through a citizen tree, whatever it's called, training rather a long time ago now, when my son was in high school. So
Great.
it was very interesting, and a lot of emphasis on, but they also will help on getting volunteers to help with planting and so forth. But you can certainly get the trees there anyway. And LA has trees as well, right? So maybe, yeah, let us talk offline and decide what our next step is. Okay, thank you very much, Dave.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next one. I don't see Frankie or Nita. The coffee with a cop update. can just-
Frankie was here.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Frankie.
Hi. I think we discussed it with Rosalie, and I think the date we say January?
Officer
Yeah,
Martinez
with Officer Martinez.
suggested January, and at this point, it would be held at the 555 West Redondo Beach Boulevard.
Right.
And so that's why there's something on the,
Agenda for to vote.
yes.
Okay, great. I'll just kind of move on to the next. I don't know if Jackie or Dave have an update on the van bus trip.
No.
I don't
Okay.
have an update, and I think as time progresses, I think the van session type of thing is something that I feel like has dropped in prioritization. I feel like our meetings since and I'm speaking personally, I don't want to speak for Jackie, that I think what our constituents are saying, at least the ones that show up, is they want advocacy for the street lighting, illegal dumping, and homeless encampments, and those three things, and asking them to jump in a van to see other things. I'm not sure that folks are going to have that interest in it until we, as a neighborhood council, can lobby more effectively for some of those things to shift, and then we can share that as a result of our advocacy, some of those things have shifted. I think is going to be one of our key ways to build interest in folks interacting with us. But when I think about the limited time that Jackie and I probably have, I'm not sure that the van one is going to be the highest leverage one as time passes, and I think on it.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. I don't think Vanessa's on. She gave a pretty lengthy update last meeting on her vision for the 2025 Juneteenth event, and we've received that in writing. The next item here about partnerships with community gardens. I don't have an update, but I do know that the Venice Family Clinic is continuing to do their bi-weekly food giveaway, and that still seems to be pretty successful. The last thing on
They
what's
had a
that?
super long they had a super long line today. But Madge, I was going to say there's a community garden in my district. Is that what it's called, Rosalie? Is that the community garden on Orchard? Is that what I'm thinking of? Or 149th?
149th, yes.
Yeah,
We also have a community garden in District 8,
Yeah.
Stanford Avalon.
Can you maybe tell us how to connect with the folks on the one on 149th? Because I see people working it. I just don't know. I have very low knowledge. I feel very ignorant
Yeah,
about what
I
actually
can get
happens
you,
as a result.
right, I can get you a contact for that garden manager.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll take that contact. I think I mentioned before, and I have yet to make it, but outside of our area, at the Hollywood Park Casino in Inglewood, I know that they've been having a farmer's market on Saturdays, I believe from like 9 to 1. And that's something that I'm interested to check out and see what vendors and and get information again of how they kind of started that. So that, I guess, is a little bit new of an update or on my list, but I have yet to attend. Lastly here, Rosalie, any updates on our website improvements?
I did contact Aaron directly about the issue, and he said that he had not started on it, and that was already a month ago, and I still haven't seen any updates, so I have to keep bugging him about that.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
Rosalie, as you get those changes, it would be great. I don't know if it's already proposed, but like when I explore it, like even if I'm trying to find myself on there, it's not the easiest, and it would be great for people to be able to click on their district and then get to us.
Well,
Because it doesn't.
the goal is to create fewer pages so it's easier to get to the direct information.
Yeah.
Like just the
But
list, the board, and yeah, so.
Okay, have we finished with the goals and priorities? No one else has anything to add? Let us go on to item number 4. Revised appointment of homeless liaisons. Rosalie?
So I looked up our appointments. We voted on it, the homeless liaisons at our January board meeting. That was before the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment had actually gotten the homeless liaison meeting started, which I don't think started until July or during the summer. And so at that time, we were told that you could have as many as you wanted. And we voted on 4. And those are Hannah Woods, who lives in District 5, Victor Williams, who lives in District 7, Salim Mahanzi, who lives in District 6, and Oscar Ruiz, who lives in District 8. So at our last meeting, 2 others who are on our homeless issues committee expressed interest in being homeless liaisons, but so I don't know if Helena can give guidance, or we can just, anyone can attend the homeless liaison meetings, which are being held through Zoom. So I don't know. What do you suggest, Helena?
Well, it looked like, I don't know if Hannah and Victor are still active, or Salim, so I would just check with them to see if they are. And if not, as far as board members, it can be up to 2. Stakeholders, it's a little different. You don't have to worry about the Brown Act, but for board members, you could select 1 more, since there's only Oscar.
Right. Okay, is Oscar the only board member still, or was there another board member on your list, Rosalie?
No, he was the only board member.
And we can have up to 5 non-board members as well. Was that what you said, Helena?
It doesn't really matter, but
A number for non-board members, okay.
yeah, because the 2 who were interested are both board members, and that was Marvin Bell and Barbara Tyson Frazier.
Oh, so there were more than just Oscar who were interested.
Oscar was already appointed in January.
Right, I'm saying who else is a board member? Are there other board members who are interested?
At our last meeting, Marvin Bell and Barbara Tyson Frazier expressed
Are
interest
they
in.
still, and therefore we have to decide between one or other of those if they are both still interested, right?
Yes, and meanwhile, Marvin had to leave the meeting because he was on his cell phone and the battery died.
Batteries, yes. Okay.
So
and
at the moment, it's only Barbara who's here, so
right.
if we could vote on Barbara, if she's still interested in being an official liaison.
Barbara, are you still here? And if so, please unmute. Yes, you are still here. And she had her hand raised. Hi, Barbara. Can you hear me?
I
Are
see
you
her
still-
listed as an attendee, not a panelist. I don't know if that matters.
I don't know. I don't have the power to do that, to do any of that. Rosalie, if she's on the phone, she can't be listed as we can't put her on as a panelist.
Please rejoin. She keeps dropping off.
Okay.
Rejoin.
Okay, great. Good.
Okay, yes, I am still interested.
Okay.
So Rosalie Preston makes a motion to appoint Barbara Tyson Frazier as one of our official homeless liaisons.
I call for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Dave. And would you please take the vote? Or is
Hey,
it,
I
are
have
there
a
any
question.
discussions?
I have a question.
Yes, Eva.
Okay, you said Oscar is already on.
Yes,
And if I understood Helena correctly, she said 2 board members.
that's right. And who we're voting on is Barbara, because Marvin has left apparently, and
Okay, but Marvin expressed interest in being on there also.
right, yes.
So
But I think I understand from Rosalie that as he has left, he is no longer eligible.
did he
I'm
say
not
he was
sure.
no longer interested, or his phone, or the battery on his phone died?
Battery on his phone died. I didn't say he was no longer interested, but it seems
So
I
if he is
understand
still
from
interested,
Rosalie that he is not eligible if he isn't in attendance.
Well, I don't
Is
know,
that
but
right, Rosalie?
no, I don't think that's accurate, but
Why don't we just
Then
table that?
why don't we table until we have
Yes,
both
because
people here?
I don't want any, just,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wait till Marvin's here. I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. That's really helpful. Okay, so then the people who are the stakeholders who are interested, Rosalie, do we need to vote on the stakeholders as well? Hannah is already.
no.
Okay, then we're fine. Okay.
I'm just curious though.
Questions? Yes.
I do have a question, or I guess clarification. I'm not as, I guess, familiar or up to speed on the homeless liaisons roles.
Mhm.
But I know in my experience of volunteering for the homeless count in January, I think the liaisons would be maybe critical to that effort. I'm not sure. But given that that's coming up and might be before our next board meeting or around that time, I guess I'm curious what maybe the timeliness would be in terms of getting those 2 people, or like just clarifying the 2 board members that would be the liaisons.
The liaisons attend I don't know if they're quarterly meetings that the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment sets up, and they have speakers, they learn about the latest situation with the homeless issues in the city, and sometimes there's breakouts into smaller groups by regions to discuss regional issues. But the homeless count, we have someone who's going to coordinate the count for our districts 1 through 5, working with LASA on that.
Okay.
And then the other 6, 7, and 8 are coordinated under the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, and we always have some of our stakeholders who volunteer for that count through them, so. So at
It's
this
not
point, I think
necessary.
I'll make a motion that we table the item until the next meeting, and so we need a second.
Which is in January.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes,
This
please.
is, thank you. So please, I just pulled up the role of the homelessness liaisons. First, to address what Madge brought up, they are not required to partake in the homeless count. Really, anyone can. You just wouldn't be able to go as a representative of your neighborhood council. If that was something, and I'm not really sure it would be relevant because you're really just there to get this job done and get the count, which takes a lot of work. But they do host bi-monthly meetings. I was writing the newsletter for a while. I know they want to continue that. They've been very active because this is such a big issue that spans across LA City. And then as for how many, I actually want to correct myself, and I do apologize. There can be a maximum of 3. Now, when I pulled up this sheet today, I had noted that Hannah and Victor were not still active. It sounds like they are. So what I'm going to recommend is definitely table, but the board needs to identify if Hannah Woods, Victor Williams, and Salim Munzi are still active representatives. If not, then I would also agendize removing them as homelessness liaison stakeholder. And then you can vote on 2 more board members. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Thank you very much.
No, so what's the total number of board members, Helena?
I had it wrong. It's actually 3, not 2, but right now it's showing that you have somehow 4. I wasn't here at the time when 4 were assigned. And when I initially looked up this list, when this was first brought up, I had Hannah and Victor as inactive, but I'm not sure if that's the case. So I want to get that information clear for the next meeting before we move forward appointing any more.
But if we can have 3 board members.
No, it's 3 total homelessness liaisons. But you
thank
have
you.
4. And one of them is, and I would keep the board member. I don't know who these other 3 people are, and I don't know if they're active. And so we need to get clarity on that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank
Now
you.
I understand. So it's two board members, 2 non-board members we can have.
We
Or
could
does-
have up to 3 board members.
Then if we have 3 board members, then we can only have 1 non-board member. Is that it?
No, a total of 3 liaisons, so.
Correct.
But they can't all be board members, can they?
No, they can. I was correcting that. They can. Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. All right.
So I
Now-
have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Let's table it.
I'll
till the next-
second. I'll second that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Rosalie, I have a question.
Yes, Frankie, sorry about that.
Okay,
Yes.
so the homeless meetings are through the empowerment, right?
Well, those are one
That-
set of meetings. We still want to reactivate our own homeless issues committee, which is separate.
Okay, because I know I get an invitation to the meeting because I previously had signed up, but I was just making sure. Okay, that's all I need to know.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Questions regarding this matter?
is Jackie trying to ask some?
Jackie? Yes. Jackie, do you have your hand up? Can you unmute if you are muted? Sorry, *6, a star something. I always get those numbers wrong. Sorry about that. Press *9, yes. Oh no, press *6 to unmute.
Yeah, no, I got knocked out. I was just trying to get back in. No, I'm okay. I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, I'll take the roll call.
Yes, please.
Joan Jacobs.
Table, yes.
So it's a motion to table. Rosalie Preston, yes. Jenny Nixon,
Yes.
Laverne Frericks,
Yes.
Dave Trejo,
Yes.
Arvie Powell,
Yes.
Eva Cooper Pace,
Yes.
Barbara Tyson Frazier,
Yes.
Oscar Ruiz. Okay. Frankie Mays,
Yes.
Jackie Jackson,
Yes.
Craig Kusunoki.
Yes.
Motion passes to table.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have tabled that. Okay, next item number 5, which is a report from the November 25th, 24 Executive Committee meeting regarding absences of the chairperson and outreach communications representative. And who would like, either Rosalie or Maj would like to give that report?
I
can-
will, yeah, I'll just start and then Madge is gonna read out.
All right.
So the executive committee met, Miguel Vasquez was able to attend, and he explained that at his job, someone went out sick and he was required to help fill in because they have to have people working in the lab 24 hours a day for the quality control. And so he ended up having to work often on a schedule that he hadn't expected, and sometimes 96 hours a week. So he had thought that things had settled down and he would be able to attend tonight, but again, his supervisor called him in. He did apologize for not making the situation clear to the board members. And Madge, you wanted to go over the.
Madge, if you would continue, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to add to my, recollection of the meeting and then ask maybe Helena to step in here because there's a lot in the bylaws and there seems to be a lot of confusion and we just want to kind of inform everybody of what the proper process is. And again, the executive meeting that we had a couple of Mondays ago was to talk not only about Miguel as the president, but also about Will Yates, who's the community outreach person. I don't know, Rosalie, did you want to talk more about Will? Because I think his situation is very different than Miguel's.
Well, in the meantime, Will Yates has resigned from the board.
Okay. Thank you.
So theoretically, if we can advertise to, if anyone's interested to appoint a new outreach communications representative at the January board meeting.
Okay.
Because we have to appoint no sooner than 60 days before
No later.
The board, yeah, no later than 60 days before the upcoming board election, and our board election date is considered to be March 25th, even though the whole election process will take place before then.
And as a reminder, our fiscal year starts July 1st, correct? So
Yeah.
all new board positions will be effective July 1st. So essentially, when it comes to Miguel's position as president of our neighborhood council, we're looking at another 6 months or almost 7 months, roughly, of having really a vacant position in his absence. So a couple of things of clarity, and Helena, please hop in here because I'm going to try to paraphrase some of the things that you've written, and maybe it makes sense to share, or maybe you've already shared with the board. in regards to the bylaws, but one of the things we talked about at the executive meeting was leave of absence provision, or the idea that if, in the event that Miguel at this particular moment is no longer able to fulfill his duties as chair, that he could potentially take a leave of absence until he would be, able to return given his work situation. And in regards to that, there is no provision for a leave of absence. So that is really not an option. The most appropriate course of action would be for the chair to voluntarily step down. And, he would be able to return when he's able to fulfill his duties of that position. But at this time, to my knowledge, Miguel has not mentioned or hinted at him wanting to step down.
Right.
That was one thing we talked about for a while, this idea of a leave of absence. So just to clarify, that is really not an option. So there is no leave of absence provision in the bylaws. And then the second thing, the bylaws on absences and removals. So any board member who misses 4 regularly scheduled consecutive neighborhood council board / general membership meetings during any 12-month fiscal year period will be automatically removed from the board. So Miguel had expressed and confirmed that I think since January 2024.
But you're leaving out.
Rosalie, hold on, let Madge finish first, please.
Thank
And
you.
you can respond.
But you have to explain.
Madge has the floor right now. Madge, would you like to continue?
I'll continue reading, and then yes, I want to make
and
sure
then
that
people can comment or add to what you're saying as they wish, as in turn.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
each neighborhood council board member absence shall be recorded in the council meeting minutes or other manner of neighborhood council record keeping. And upon missing the required number of board meetings, excluding excused absences, the council presiding officer shall notify the board member of the absences and place on the agenda the removal of the board member at a regular or special board meeting, whereupon the board shall determine the validity of the absences before taking action to remove the board member. Acceptable excused absences shall be defined and listed in the standing rules. The board removal process shall only be implemented in consultation with the office of the city attorney. I'll pause there if there are any clarifications before I continue to read on. Okay, let me continue. And then I wanted to mention what Miguel had expressed and confirmed in our executive meeting. So moving on, in terms of our committee's responsibility in these regards, there are some procedural things that Helena had pointed out that may not have been in full abided by in terms of the bylaws. So the first thing is record keeping of excused and unexcused absences to be included in the minutes. I think that is something that we have an opportunity to do better and to add into the minutes going forward. 2, board members should be notified of absence. So if you're unable to attend, please let someone, I guess the secretary, Rosalie, know that you're not going to be able to make it. 3, motion and discussion on agenda, the removal of board member after the board member has notified of their executive absences. So again, this idea of talking about it, people knowing, the number of absences as it pertains to the bylaws, it being recorded in the minutes, and then discussion or agenda items per those absences as needed. And the 4th thing listed here is the consultation of the city attorney before agendizing the removal of a board member. So I think these are some things that we may not in full have been abiding by. And so just so everyone's aware of what the process is. I'll kind of stop there, but I did want to add that in our executive meeting, Miguel had mentioned that it had been since January of 2024 that he has not been able to attend any of our general board meetings. He also had expressed his interest in some of the environmental justice, the committee and some of those issues, and he would like to see those out. Again, to my knowledge, he has not expressed wanting to step down. But to me, in reading the bylaws and having a better understanding now after that meeting, and then this kind of excerpt from Helena, it seems that we might have grounds for a removal. However, the point here of consultation of the city attorney would be something as a next step that would have to be looked into. And I think everybody probably has an idea that that would not be ideal nor a very expedited process. It would take time. So because we have an upcoming election for our board member or for our board seats in the 60 days prior to that March date, we have a very small window to even really address that with the city attorney.
Thank you.
Helena, thank you.
I did have one question. Oh, I know. So then I think this might be for Helena more, that in consultation with the city attorney, should we not agenda that before we go to a city attorney? I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not even putting forward that we should do that right now because there's such a small window, it doesn't make sense,
Right.
I think. But are we supposed to agendize going to the city attorney before we actually do it? Or is that just something that the executive committee could decide? And this really is a question for Helena.
No. Anyone on a neighborhood council can reach out for city attorney guidance at any time. It does not have to be agendized. It's usually on an individual basis. In this case, I would recommend all of the executive board members reach out for NCAD's guidance. But that is a privilege that all NC board members have in case anything ever occurs related to your role as a neighborhood council board member. And the information they share with you is confidential. So yeah, you don't have to agendize it. You can just decide like the executive committee is going to reach out for their guidance on next steps. If it's all right, I would like to add to the information that's been shared.
Mhm.
So I actually, I went through, I feel like I've become a bit of an expert on your bylaws now in reading them and the standing rules. And I also went back through all of the minutes, and to correct, the chairperson has been absent since September of last year with no record of attendance since then. Per the bylaws, these are straight from the Harbor Gateway North bylaws. It reads, the chairperson shall act as the chief executive of the council and shall preside at all council meetings. It also says in your bylaws, board members are expected to attend all board of director meetings and Harbor Gateway North Neighborhood Council general membership meetings. And then again, it goes into what Madge read out. Thank you so much. Summarizing a lot of my points about taking full roll call. So typically, and I noticed it tonight, and I apologize for not catching this sooner. Again, I'm really grateful to those who brought up the issue of absences in the last couple meetings, because now we're learning this together. And so when the purpose of roll call is to call out everyone on the board. At this time, from what I can gather, maybe it's just been reading off who you see on the screen. But moving forward, and why this all relates, is that we haven't been tracking those absences. And they need to be tracked by taking roll call. And that includes calling out everyone's name, even if you don't see them on the screen, and then marking for the minutes, record keeping that attendance that's on the masthead. And during roll call, and the minutes must reflect the roll call and note whether each absence is excused or unexcused. So that's Again, like why we would want NCAD's guidance on this is because while 4 absences would mean automatic removal, the standing rules, I looked at the standing rules, it doesn't clearly define what's excused and not excused. And I think that's something that not one person should be in control of, but the entire board needs to agree, have all of these been excused or unexcused? We don't know what's been shared with Miguel, so we would want NCAD's guidance, because if he thinks they're all excused, and this isn't to like talk about him when he's not here, just very matter of fact, so you all can make an educated decision about this and understand why there's going to be changes in taking roll call in the future. But the board will need to decide, like, develop and approve criteria for excused absences if this is something you want to add to the standing rules. So an example of that might be illness, emergencies, prior notice, and then adding that to the standing rules for consistency and transparency. I hope that helps address why this is even being brought up now, and why in the future you will have to take roll call differently, and that needs to be recorded in the minutes. And the person who is absent also needs to be notified whether it's excused or not excused.
Okay, thank you. I think before now we nearly always have the roll call has been everybody's name has been called for the roll call, and then it's been marked as absent or present. But this evening, I think Rosalie was trying to be very helpful and get us through the roll call quickly. So, but anyway, finally we did have everybody's name called, I think. But thank you very much for the explanation and the clarification, Helena. Very helpful. I think we're all much more understanding of the processes now. Now, Frankie, Madge, did you have another question or something else to add?
I just wanted to kind of summarize, I guess.
Okay.
So we're really talking about a few things, 2 particular individuals in their board seats, and then the general awareness of attendance and absences and the way to take roll call. I think Will Yates is pretty straightforward, as he has resigned. Miguel, in his position as president, I think is still to be resolved. And I'm not sure on this board meeting if we have to vote or what like the actions are. I think that's where I feel a little uncertain myself. But the information is very helpful so that we all are aware going forward. Helena, can you just give us guidance on next steps for Miguel in particular?
So that's a discussion for the board. So there's the pathways, in addition to making these kind of more administrative changes, is 1, seek NCAD's guidance. That would be the first step before you do anything else. See what they say and have them review all of this. The second thing is, don't bring it to NCAD and just roll out through the end of elections. It's, again, that's got to be something the board decides. And with elections, again, the executive officers, you'll be able to select new ones after the election. So that'll happen before, in the next, I think the final count will be in March or something like that. So it's really up to the board. Again, I wanted to provide all of this information just so you all can decide for yourself how you want to move forward. And it's also maybe worth, I forget if this board has an ad hoc by rules and standing or a bylaws and standing rules committee, but you could also agendize for the future creating an ad hoc standing rules committee, or just agendizing the item to define what excused and unexcused is. It doesn't have to be an ad hoc committee, but if more research wants to get it done into this, it might be worth it. So those are kind of your options.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to comment that we did almost pass the reasons for the excused absences a few months ago. And because I realized there was one other that could be added, then the board was not comfortable voting to edit that list. So we've been waiting for to set another bylaws committee meeting to finalize, and hopefully that could be brought up at the January board meeting.
Did anyone on the executive committee just ask Miguel if he would be comfortable resigning because it's the right thing to do?
It was put forward several times, Dave.
That's
Okay.
the same thing I was gonna ask. I'm
Yeah.
unable to unmute.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Barbara. Yes, I'm. Rosalie is the.
Well, we can
person,
hear
I think.
you. We can hear you,
We
Barbara.
can hear you fine, though. Yes, Barbara, we can hear you, or we could. Okay, but yeah,
Miguel seems like a very nice gentleman. He's not de facto a member of this board and hasn't been for like a long time, other than on paper.
Yeah, I agree, Dave.
I
And
agree.
we had talked at that executive meeting and suggested several times and even over email. And, you know, I believe Miguel had all intents and purposes of trying to make this meeting as he's had of making other meetings. But like Helena said, since September of last year, he's been unable to. And it's really unfortunate. He seems passionate and cares about our community and several kind of high priority topics. But quite frankly, he's just not able to make it. I'm not sure what his hesitation is about just stepping down or resigning at this point, but he's not said that he would be willing to do that.
Yeah, it seems great. Like my statements are no reflection of his care for the community. He's just in a current life situation in which it doesn't seem to be compatible with his current work situation. He's a young human. He's going to have plenty more time in life to come back to this board if his life becomes more compatible with it. I have no guilt about wanting to move forward with removal. I think it's a bad precedent for us as a board to have something go on this long and not take any action because we don't want to offend someone.
Right. I'm in complete agreement.
I'm not sure that we can continue discussing this as we haven't necessarily put that down as a discussion, have we?
I think Helena said this is
Rather
what we
than
can talk about.
simply
Like,
as a report. So how do we want to proceed next then? That's really what we need to look at. Do we want?
I can help. So it does say it's only a report and it doesn't suggest any possible motions.
Right.
But like I said, I advised this before the discussion. The executive officers can reach out to NCAD without agendizing that. So that
Yeah,
can be
we
the
can
first.
do that. So we can
Yeah.
do that between now and the next meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would be careful with how that maybe like end the discussion here and just decide to, that's my advice to the executive board. It could also just be you, Joan, but I would recommend having a couple people on that thread, like the executive officers, just so everyone is on the same page.
Right. Now, I would like to advise Miguel that we are going to do this, but is that okay? Or should I not?
You are not required to do that because again, you are just seeking their guidance. This doesn't mean anything. There's no decisions being made right now. It's just seeing what next steps are. what process needs to be followed. Because again, like the bylaws say, 4 would be adequate if they were unexcused. So we just need more information from them. So there's no requirement. And again, look at the bylaws for on the censure and removal policy. You need to notify the board member once
Once we hear
that
back from the,
they'll guide
from
you.
the-
That's the thing about, they will guide you through the entire process of censure and removal.
okay, okay, yes. I just don't want to go behind Miguel's back. I don't think that's a good thing to do. But that's how I feel about it. I feel we need to be open about what steps we are taking.
I'd like to state that I don't have any qualms about, I don't feel that it's going beyond his back. Like, this is a public meeting. He can review minutes if he wants to, like,
Okay.
if he was able of participating, like, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking, but like, I don't think we have to worry about offending Miguel. And I say that as someone that thinks he's a nice human.
He is extremely nice young man, yes, and very passionate about the neighborhood council and what he could achieve. So yeah, but it's not from that. I just that's
Exactly. It
the
doesn't have
personal
anything to do.
feeling how I am. Yeah, I like to have things out in the open, but
We have to put our personal feelings aside when between right and wrong.
yes,
This is a moral. This is moral. When it comes to what we haven't had a president since September of last year. So how
Right.
is that going? And like he just stated, this is a public meeting. We're not talking behind anybody's back. I like Miguel as well, but right is right and wrong is wrong.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Then I think we will, the executive committee, the rest of the executive committee will get be in contact as
I would like to make a comment, Joan.
Yes.
Everything is still running and doing like it's being run. And I don't know what Miguel's intent, it's bad that he's not able to come to the meetings because, of job and everything. But you're doing the job right now as vice chair. And the elections are coming up pretty soon and everything, and so, as to, I know in his absence, it's he needs to be, but I don't know, maybe I have to ask him what's his final decision and things like that. But, we're still running, we're still functioning.
We are.
That's what I got to say.
What we could do is clarify the situation with the I mean, my suggestion is that we clarify the situation with the city attorney, but in the meantime, but we need to have the discussion with the whole board about whether we would agree to go ahead with, if the city attorney says, it clarifies it in such a way that we could remove Miguel or the current chairperson from that position. But it would be, we still have to take it to the board. My understanding is it is a board decision, not just an executive committee decision. Am I right?
Yeah.
Helen?
That is
I think-
correct.
Yes.
And
I think a
just-
greater point, maybe just to double down on what Arby's saying, like things are going well, and to Joan's credit, to Rosalie's credit of keeping the neighborhood council in good standing. However, like Dave said, I just want to reiterate, like it sets a very bad precedent. And given the fact that elections are around the corner, I think just out of simple principle, we don't want to set the precedent that somebody can nominate and get elected and then not be present. So to me, it seems like a greater principle issue and something just for us on the board in particular to be aware of what the responsibilities are, and to uphold that. If you're unable to do it for life circumstances, that's one thing, and you have to evaluate that. But just, 16, 17 months of wanting to and not being present, that affects everybody. And quite frankly, to me, that's a bad precedent. So I think it's a little bit more of a principle matter, RV. But I do think, to your point, great, reflection on all of us who do show up to be able to continue functioning very well as a neighborhood council.
Okay. Yeah, my point is simply it's going to be a board decision anyway. It isn't simply a decision made by the executive committee. That's really what I wanted the board to know. Is that right, Helena? Non?
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Joan. I'm actually gonna ask that, I think the conversation can end here, and I will take it upon myself to reach out to the city attorney, because RV, the thing about this is, like I said, if you decide not to move forward with anything, is this a violation of the bylaws? And that's what's unclear, is that it's unclear if his absences have been a violation of those bylaws. And that's also a part of this clarification. And if then he is subject to automatic removal, and if not, then it goes into censure and removal. And censure will require, I'm just gonna ask that everyone read the bylaws. I will include them in my recap email. You should already know how to access your bylaws, but everyone, please check out the section on censure. It'll tell you how censure is initiated, but even through the censure process, we would still need NCAD's guidance. But just before we get there, we need to determine if this has been a violation of the bylaws. So I am going to take it upon myself, and I will include the executive committee in my request to NCAD.
Thank you very much. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next item? We need several administrative motions that need to be got through, and then we should be basically finished. Everybody okay? If we move on to the next item, administrative motions.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So item number 6, first motion is approval of the November the 12th, 2024 board minutes. Have you all read the board minutes? And if so, I will call for a motion to approve this
I motion to approve the board minutes.
of November the 12th, 2024.
Yes.
Thank you. And I call for a second.
I second Frankie.
Thank you. So, are there any questions, corrections? We're all right, happy? Then Rosalie, if you would call the roll call for the vote.
Joan Jacobs,
Yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Majeni Nixon,
Yes.
Laverne Frerick,
Yes.
Dave Trejo,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes.
Eva Cooper Pace,
Yes.
Barbara Tyson Frazier,
Yes.
Oscar Ruiz, Frankie Mays,
Yes.
Jackie Jackson,
Yes.
Craig Kusunoki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Then item number B, 6B, approval of the November 2024 monthly expenditure report. Would you like to share your screen with us, Maj?
Yes, can you see my screen?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, just real quickly, the total spend in this past month has been a little over $1,000, so $1,165.45. We do have an outstanding payment of $7,821.30, and the details to follow. So in the past month, our AT&T bill, mostly, if not all, general office expenditures for that total of $1,165.45. And the outstanding expenditures have been also mostly office with some outreach flyers for the general board meeting on October 22nd, the distribution of those flyers, and the cleanup that Barbara did on November 2nd, the cleanup day.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone have any questions? Yeah, that's the
What are
detail
the
back.
postcards for? Are these for our election?
Yes, I believe so. Rosalie can
Rosalie?
confirm.
Yes, which a lot of people have
Oh,
not
yes, here we go,
received.
elections, yes.
Right, I've not received those either.
I haven't received anything either. As far as I know.
But that's where we're at financially.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have questions about these expenses or upcoming expenses? No?
I make a
Yes.
motion to approve the November 2024 monthly expenditure report.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Thank you. And is there no discussion? Rosalie, if you would call, I call for the roll call for the votes.
Joan Jacobs,
Yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Jenny Nixon,
Yes.
Laverne Frericks,
Yes.
Dave Trejo,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes.
Eva Cooper Pace,
Yes.
Barbara Tyson Frazier,
You can put your hand up, Barbara, if you'd like. Which I think is *9.
Oscar Ruiz, Frankie Mays,
Yes.
Jackie Jackson,
Yes.
Craig Kusunoki,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And then item 6C, approval of up to $500 to support a Coffee with a Cop event. Is that for a vote, Rosalie?
Yes, we're not sure that we'll have to spend the money to support the event, but just in case.
Just we don't have vote on the agenda. Does that matter?
Oh, yeah, sorry, it dropped off.
Okay. So can we still vote even though it doesn't say vote? Hello? Rosalie?
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's okay. Good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember back from other possibilities, things. Okay, so I call for a motion to approve up to $500 to support a Coffee with a Coffee with a Cop event.
I make a motion to approve $500 for a Coffee with a Cop event.
Thank you, Eva.
I
And-
second.
Okay,
It's Barbara Tyson. I second.
thanks, Barbara.
Oh.
Okay, so I call for the vote. Rosalie?
Joan Jacobs,
Yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Jenny Nixon,
Yes.
Laverne Frericks,
Yes.
Dave Trejo,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
Yes. Yes.
Eva Cooper Page,
Yes.
Barbara Tyson Frazier,
Yes.
Oscar Ruiz, Frankie Mays,
Yes.
Jackie Jackson,
Yes.
Craig Kusunoki,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Then item number 7, board of business or board announcements. Reports from committees. Are there any urgent reports from committees?
For planning and land use, I just wanted to
Yes, thank you.
say that in the last committee meeting, we discussed the upcoming release of the final environmental impact report on the proposed large Prologis warehouse, which we're expecting will be released in January or February. Also, the permit review for California Waste Services, which the previous permit language has already been sent to us, and we're looking it over. And the proposed new permit language will be released in January. So those are two big planning and land use issues coming up.
Right, thank you. Yes. Okay. Any questions, Eva? Did you have something you wanted to say or ask?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay, any other reports from committees? Announcements from board members?
Yes,
Yes, Arby.
yes, I have an announcement. I would like to make an announcement. Ever since we have the homeless in the in the communities and everything, I had stakeholders reporting that some people are going around in the neighborhoods and trying out cars and everything doors. So I advise everybody to lock their doors and be very diligent to keep the items out of the sight, the way, and lock the cars. Because, some are out roaming around and, getting in people's properties and everything. And also, I like to mention when reporting to LA Hop online, I noticed now it's just not you type in LA Hop, you have to put a dash in order for the menu to come up to report. Because I found out when I was texting and emailing other neighbors about who to contact. So I would like to put that out there also. And to keep in communication, with your neighbors and everything. When you see something, say something, notify, the LAPD or even, call 311, if you see homeless encampments or people that need help. That's all I want to say, and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you very much, Arby. Okay, is there anybody else who has comment or announcement?
Rosalie, as a secretary, I just wanted to remind people that on Friday, December 20th, the Harbor Gateway Winter Wonderland will take place at Normandale Recreation Center from 4 to 7 p.m. and Frankie Mays and I will be staffing our table there. And also on Saturday, December 21st, from 5 to 8 p.m., the nonprofit organization that took over the room 185 where we used to meet at 555 West Redondo Beach Boulevard, the entrepreneur educational center, they're holding an open house, so it's a chance for people to learn about their programs. They're offering games, entertainment, music, and prizes, and they've invited everyone to attend.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, Joan, it's Madge. I just
Yes,
wanted
Madge.
to highlight, in the spirit of highlighting small businesses, I wanted to highlight a newer within the past month or so restaurant in our area. It's in District 1 on the southeast corner of Vermont in Gardena Boulevard, the Dulce Fama Ecuadorian restaurant. They're closed on Mondays, but they're open Tuesdays through Sundays, generally 10:30 to 8. I think on Sunday they close at 6. But they're a bakery, restaurant, market. I believe a Mexican restaurant was there before, But this restaurant, they've had an artist paint a very pretty mural that you may have seen on the Vermont side. They're very active in social media, and so just something to make people aware. And if you are able to patron them or check them out, I think it would be great to welcome them to our neighborhood council or our neighborhood area. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you,
very much.
Mash. Yeah, they made that corner look much more beautiful with what they painted, and so far it's been respected because there's been
Yes.
graffiti next to it, but it hasn't actually been graffitied or targeted, and it seems pretty busy when they're
Yes.
open. So
That's
that's nice. But to the same with the same spirit of it, on Gardena Boulevard, right by Vermont, Goodwater has opened a coffee shop Wednesday through Sunday.
oh, lovely.
And so they have a little coffee shop back there. They're only open from like 10 to 2, but they're really kind and they make nice drinks, and you don't have to go over to Starbucks if you're in the area. You can just walk in there, and a nice vibe, and they're kind humans in there.
Oh, that's great to know, Dave. I'm gonna check that out. Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody, as well.
Happy holidays, everybody. Yes, I
Yeah.
just.
I was going to say it's a small
say
business.
what
And it's a
the-
small Black-owned business.
Yeah, great people, great family there. I've really enjoyed every time that we've been in there. So it's
So
been very.
where did you say it's at, Dave?
Goodwater on Gardena Boulevard, between Ainsworth and Vermont.
Oh, okay.
So any businesses that we know, I don't know if we're allowed to say about him, but anyway, yes, thank you all. Eva,
and
did
the-
you have
the
a
last-
question? Oh, yes, Dave.
Sorry, the last thing I was going to say real quick, I'm sorry, and then was that California dashboard data has come out for schools for the last school year. So it's always kind of a bit of a lag because the school year ended in June, but Environmental Charter Middle School Gardena is outperforming the average of LAUSD in growth in math and ELA. So, and just that's in our area. I know I'm partial, but I want to share that with you all so you know that our school is doing good things.
Well
Very
done.
good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great, Dave.
Great.
Terrific. Okay, anything else, Avi?
Oh,
No?
no, I was just thinking there was a good shout outs, to advertise the businesses in our area and to patronize, because I think we need to bring in more business, small business and things like that into the area.
Right. And one of the things I want to add that I've been said for years when I was secretary, well, treasurer, buy locally, because I know it's hard for us, and this would be really helpful when we know where all these small businesses are in our district, because so many times we go into Gardena or even further afield. But if we can patronize our own businesses, the sales tax from the businesses in Los Angeles, in our area, go to Los Angeles. We go to Gardena, and our money in sales taxes to Gardena, not to Los Angeles. So buy locally whenever you can. Thank you very much. Okay, if there are no further comments, I will call this meeting adjourned at 9:39. It's been a very long meeting, but obviously there's been a lot to talk about. So I hope people feel it was worthwhile. And thank you all for coming. Have lovely holidays, however you celebrate them. We will see you.